So we were talking about, there was a request for a topic of releasing fears that no longer serve us. And I was saying that generally I've found that we don't release things. Most of the time almost all the time that I've seen someone transform a habit or a feeling, they've actually transformed or replaced it. So if there was a fear, they've made it so that when they think of that thing, they think of it with peace. Or they practice being in that situation with confidence. I'm saying most of the time because if you don't think about or revisit anything for a long, long, long time, that part of your brain never fires. Those nerves, those pathways can weaken and become smaller, and the fear can disappear. But in terms of us actively practicing, us actively living, retraining or transforming has always been the way that I've seen it work. Someone might be thinking, oh, but I've seen someone do some process where they release the fear. But I would put it to you that they found themselves then thinking of the thing like it's okay, or I can do this. So they've actually just been able to take the jump into then thinking about the thing in a different way. So our theme for tonight is going to be transforming things that no longer serve us. So while we will look at fears, we may also look at habits and attitudes and ways of relating or parts of our culture. And while I could pose it to you as like transforming aspects of yourself, I'm also going to come back to that idea of things that no longer serve us. It can be a helpful prompt or a way of seeing something. Oh, I used to be fearful of those people because I didn't want to do something that could have put me at risk, whether that's like physically safe or emotionally safe. But you know what? Feeling like that doesn't help me anymore. And so now, what do I choose to create instead? Or perhaps when we look at culture and history, there are things that humans have done, and now we're able to understand things differently. We're able to be mindful and transformative. And so looking at some of our cultures or beliefs or traditions and say, hey, does that really still serve us? What would be the best way to be here? It can be a really good prompt to let yourself be creative about the best you, the best world, your best possible mind. All right, so that was a quick condensed version of everything you guys missed when my mic wasn't working. So hello OA, hi Marlies, hi Sonia, great to have you all here. I was also saying how great it is to be in VR, that we get to actually experience looking at each other and walking around together and bowing together. So I hope everyone gets a chance to actually come and visit us here in the temple at some time. Okay, so with that introduction, I want us to start with a meditation. And before we begin the meditation, you can just think of the theme of transforming or releasing things that no longer serve you. What are some fears or some reactions or some habits that don't help you anymore? And we're going to go on a meditation to see what we're going to transform them into, what you're going to have instead. So I invite everybody, whether here in the temple or at home on the live stream, to just let yourself get relaxed. We're going to spend a little time to relax, and then we're going to energize our mind. So you take a deep breath You could be asking, well, why are we starting with a relaxation? I want you to think of all the different thoughts and feelings and stuff that's been going on, and you're just going to let that all become still. If your mind was like a lake with all the ripples and swirls, you're just going to let everything settle so that you'll be more free to think or feel or practice whatever you choose. So let's all take another slow, deep breath. And I invite everyone to close their eyes. If people come into the temple or if there's any other noises, just decide that right now, this time, is just for you. It's just you and your consciousness. Each breath you take, feel your body feeling more at peace. And feel what it'd be like for your mind to be more at peace. Notice your inner voice. If you're thinking any words, I invite you to try to just hear your breath. So all of your thoughts become it's just some time to let the inner dialogue have a rest. Just hear the breath. Just hear the breath. If there's anything else going on, just, hey, for now, I'm just going to put everything aside for just a little bit. It's time to just let my mind be at peace. And many of you will have noticed that just breathing actually makes your body feel calm, makes your feelings feel peaceful. If you're new to a meditation, you could imagine what kind of deep peace people could experience. What would it be like if your whole body became perfect relaxation? If all your feelings just let go into tranquility. You can think of the difference between being in a very busy, crowded, cramped space and then walking out into a bright, beautiful field. And imagine your mind just feeling like this bright, open, spacious field. Just take some deep breaths and enjoy these good states of mind, being more spacious, feeling more peaceful. Notice how you feel now. And over the next few breaths, imagine all of those thoughts and feelings just letting go like a whole level deeper into peace and calm. If you're experienced with meditation, If you're new to meditation, I just invite you to be curious. People say they find feelings that are better than they've ever felt before. Their body can feel epic. Their consciousness can expand. Become curious what those sensations might be like. Just trying to feel the breath, let the thoughts rest. Curious what it is to transform our consciousness. And now as we shift gears in the meditation, notice that intentionally focusing on the breath and on peace, it's done something to you. Some of you may be feeling deep peace, profound stillness. Some of you may be feeling a little more relaxed or a lot more relaxed. You've noticed your thoughts more, or you've had time to be in stillness. And I just want you to contemplate if you were always aware of the power of your consciousness. If you could practice being however you wanted. Hopefully everyone here is feeling peace. You could imagine peace just filling your whole self. Every moment at your core was this calm strength. But know that it's also possible to infuse joy or confidence into every moment. So I just invite you to reflect upon yourself, upon you, upon your habits and your life. And as you see things that are good, let yourself feel good about them. Imagine being stronger, more happier, more creative, more vibrant in all those positive parts of you. And I invite you, with each thought or each consideration that you have, know that it's actually making you better. It's making you feel better. It's transforming your future. And let yourself feel that. Feel that you are training, transforming. And next I invite you to think of if there's anything that no longer serves you, but that you're ready to think about, ready to imagine some other way of being. Now, in the past, many of us may have, when we thought of that situation, we only thought of our old reaction. We only felt our old reaction. But just allowing yourself to consider a different reaction, any moment that you imagine that or think of it, there's a chance that next time that new thought or that new feeling will come to mind, will come to your feelings. So just this little exercise is sowing some seeds of transformation, and perhaps some of them have already taken root enough that next time you're in this situation, you'll have strength, peace, or confidence. So next I want everybody to consider one thing. It could have been a past fear. It could have been a past situation where you reacted heatedly or you reacted with hesitancy, or perhaps you had ideas and attitudes that just clouded thinking about it as effectively as you could have. I invite you to pick just one thing, one situation, and then you can ask yourself, how would I really love to be in that situation? If I know someone who I look up to, someone who is wise or confident or playful, how would they be in that situation? And as I ask a few questions about the situation, when you start to see ways of being that you know, yes, that's what I would like to be, latch on to them. Start to feel them and practice them. You could ask yourself, how would a completely enlightened being act in that situation? How would my ideal self be in that situation? And more than just the ideas, whatever comes to mind, I invite you to practice it. Visualize it. Let's just say you thought of something that you used to have fear around. If your ideal self would be confident there, I invite you to purely imagine it. How good would it be if you were really just pure confidence in that situation? Let yourself just come more and more into that good feeling, how you would act and feel, and how awesome that is. And yes, if you visualize and experience it powerfully enough, it can be embedded into your whole being. But to give us the best chance of that, you just keep visualizing it, rehearsing, imagining being more confident, more at peace, more expressive, more calm, more compassionate, more patient, more powerful. Visualizing and rehearsing this situation as your ideal self or as your creative self. Ask yourself the question, if I was going to transform this right now, so for the rest of my life, this part of my life would just be so much better. How good that would be. And so as you're visualizing, bring all your power to it. all the good feeling to it. Imagine you in 1 year from now, and you've been living with this part of you transformed. The fear was gone, or the way of communicating with people, now it's fun and it's easy. Or something you got caught up on now flows really well. Imagine a whole year. All the extra ease, the mental clarity and space that was created. Perhaps better things that you've done, or better ways that your life has gone. Now I invite you to imagine the you in 10 years from now, looking back over those 10 years and looking back at you right now, meditating on that transformation and just giving yourself gratitude and love and encouragement. And the you that's sitting here meditating right now, you're sending that love, that power, that peace to the you in the future. Look at them, love them, give them all the strength and peace you can imagine. We know that what we practice is what we get. We choose to practice peace, bliss, confidence. And to those of us who've just joined us in the temple, I just invite you to grab a seat. We're practicing being the most awesome version of ourselves, just in our imagination, where we're completely free to think or feel anything, to be whoever we want to be. So letting yourself imagine some part of your life and how you could be as awesome as possible. Just a couple of minutes of practicing being awesome transforms how we feel. Sports people use it to be way more skillful. Great leaders use it to make confidence, to make love and patience. Wise people practice being powerful. Give yourself just a minute to practice being the most awesome you that you can imagine in some part of your life. we're going to come out of the meditation in a minute. And so I hope the ideas and the ways I shared it, you were able to really see how you could be, how you could feel, what you would do. But perhaps some of the ideas may have seemed abstract. We weren't sure how you do that. So in our discussion today, I want you to share how it was awesome for you, but also we can ask, how would you do that? What could I visualize here? How could I level that up? Or I had this other feeling. How do I bring my focus into that feeling? Any questions you have about the practice of transforming yourself, bringing yourself peace, noticing thoughts or behaviors that don't help you, and creating something else. Anything. This session is for you. It's for you. It is for you. So as we come out of the meditation, I just invite everyone to think, well, if I was going to make this as awesome as possible for me, what can I ask? I invite you to be selfish. Whatever questions you ask, I'm sure it'll help everybody. So everyone just pull your shoulders back and take a deep, energizing breath. I notice some people starting to stretch. You may want to stretch or smile. And I'm just going to wait. If anyone has any questions or comments here or on the live stream, I'm now opening it up to all of you.
That was nice.
Amped, let me just turn up your volume. Yeah, what were you saying?
I said that was nice.
Wonderful. One of my controllers turned off during the meditation. I'm trying to make my camera so that people can see you guys. I guess we're just stuck with me from now. I'm glad you like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if you've been to this community before. I run a session here this time every week, and we have a few other teachers, and we meet here in the temple like many times a week. And we've got a Discord server that's out on the poster outside the door. Very happy to have you here, and please come as often as you like. Amtot, would you like to share like what you were imagining, or do you have any question about it?
I was imagining, after moving out soon, being in an environment where I have people who care about me, being good mental health, being good physical health,
That sounds great.
being in shape.
Now, I hope every day you visualize that and remember it, and it pumps you up and clarifies things for you. Thank you. Does anyone else have something they'd like to share or ask? All right. OA says, can the link to the Discord server please be shared in the live stream description as well? Let's see if I can type it. It's bit.ly/
You should put in your bio.
Oh, that's a good idea. Well, would that show up for people who are on the live stream? Here we go. Typing in VR is one thing that the VR community... I wonder if anyone's really worked out a good solution yet. There we go. Oscar, let me know if that shows up for you. I don't think it went through to the Facebook chat. But yeah, bit.ly/VR Sankar.
VR what?
Sangha is a word that is used in some Eastern traditions that means a community of people that help each other be awesome. It's a Pali word. So this community was inspired by Buddhism, and it's a word the Buddha used for any group of people that are helping each other to be as wise, as peaceful, as loving, as empowered as possible. All right. And Marley said she'll post it to the Facebook live stream. So any of you out there in Facebook land, I hope you enjoy it through there. Excellent. Anyone here with any questions? Especially to the person who made the request about releasing fear. If you have any clarifying questions, or if anybody is wondering, well, how would you really apply that to this tricky situation? Please ask.
There's just a lot in the world that's just a construct. Or if I was to put it in very Buddhist terms, it's like a delusion caused by Maya. So
Can you give some examples?
there's a lot we put stock on. Like gender. That's a big one. Or race. Or I'm not saying that people don't operate on these social constructs. They do.
But they are
it actually
constructed.
has no basis
We could
in
be
reality.
totally different.
Yeah.
Or money, or effective altruism, or long-termism, or time.
Yeah,
Totally.
that too. Or wealth.
So many things
keeping
we've
wealth.
just constructed. Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
All right. So I think we're on the same
Exactly.
page now, Purple. So what were you going to ask or say?
Oh, just saying that, well, nothing really is as it seems. And sometimes if people are operating on those constructs, they might act a certain way, but you don't have to give in, I guess, to that. And you might even inspire them to broaden their own perspective if you don't go with it.
Totally. Once I learned about being able to transform ourselves, and then I started to see so many of the ways we are, that just our culture or our constructs. Wherever I noticed something was a construct, I'd ask myself, what would it be like if we just didn't have that construct at all? I see some people are like, oh, well, okay, I'm going to try and change that one around a little bit. I think an even better question is like, well, what if I just forgot about that idea entirely? And then what would I create instead? And I really like the question, hey, if every human was just to start from scratch, and we could imagine any way of being, any kind of culture, anything, what would we invent? And it's challenging because often when we ask ourselves questions like that, we still think of things within our current bubble. Like, what are you used to? And so you come up with things a little different. But yeah, I invite people to just ask more. Well, hey, if I was to drop everything, what would I make it like? And ask again, well, hey, if I was to drop all of that, how would I make things even better? When you mentioned gender, that was pretty clear to me when I was younger that it's completely a social construct, how people act. And then I thought, well, I want to live as if it just doesn't exist. I mean, over time, I've seen where, like, some biology has different trends on different people. But, yeah, I tend to just treat all humans as if we're just just humans. I don't want to categorize anyone into any group. With race, I try to just see every person as an individual. I also started thinking about, the different holidays or the different religious things that people do. If we got rid of all of them and just created like the best holidays we could think of, what would we celebrate together? And people used to live in extended communities. Now, in parts of the world where I've lived, some people live in multi-generational families, some people live in big extended families, some people live in intentional communities. I like to ask myself, well, what would be an awesome way to think about our family or community if we were just going to imagine the best way of being? I guess there's so many constructs that I've looked at and deconstructed for myself and constructed other things. What are some that you've really benefited from considering?
Quite a few. Pretty much everything that I mentioned, like wealth, gender, and race, they all play a huge part in most people's lives, I think. And once I started to think about myself not as a woman, but as a person with a woman's body, things start to shift. And you can also apply that to other people. They're not a man, but a person with a man's body. If someone is being kind of misogynistic, I used to think, oh, was it something I said? Am I acting like too easy or available? Is it me that's wrong? And that's like a prevalent narrative. But then I started to think, wait, like this is the cause, this is the condition we're living in right now, where people, or where society hasn't gotten past certain ideas, and certain people are being given these poor socializations, and they're struggling with that, they're suffering with that. And so sometimes so that actually made me realize it's not something I'm doing, it's just a condition of being alive right now, and that's okay. As long as it wasn't me, and I wasn't I don't know, torturing myself over it was almost worse than realizing that it doesn't have anything to do with me, and I really don't have to deal with it or engage with it too much if I don't want to.
I hope you find communities that are more like you would like them to be. And if you are in communities where those old or other behaviors are there, that you find ways that you can help them be kinder or more understanding, or whatever it is you think would be beneficial.
Yeah. Exactly. If you can realize that there are people who have bad socialization, then you're not so... I used to be so mad at them. I used to be like, how could you be this way? Blah, blah, blah. But now I kind of realize they're brainwashed, and I can playfully respond to them. And they think that they can get some sort of lasting happiness by acquiring women or my form, but I'm gonna die. They can't. I mean, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna age. If I don't age, I'm gonna be disinterested someday, or I'm not gonna respond the way they want. So the eternal happiness that they think they can get by winning me over, it just doesn't exist. But they're wanting it. That's what they're thinking is gonna happen, by acquiring more. It's not any different than acquiring like than my mindset used to be when I used to think, oh, I'm just gonna become super rich and then I'll be fine, right? It's just in their case they think, oh, I'm just gonna be super popular with the ladies and I'm gonna slay, and get all these notches on my belt and then I'll be
Good
fine,
Lord.
right? So
Um,
yeah.
so I guess the question for me is like, I hope we can all imagine what we think would be the ideal ways that people could relate. How could we have a more loving, enjoyable community? And yeah, let's try and have that positive influence on whoever is around us. We have a question in the live chat which I'd like to look at. So Sonia has asked, how do we accept our true selves and not be influenced by others? It's a very interesting question. Firstly, I don't know if I believe in a true self. If I was to translate that term, I think that when I think about my best values and my best way of being, I find something great. I don't know if that's like a true self, like maybe that's also just constructed by the good things that have been around me, and maybe it will be better later. But yeah, if I was to rephrase the question in a way that I can relate to, it's like how do we accept our best selves or our current best self and not be influenced by others? It's a really good question. In the meditation, we took some time to practice being our best self. And I hope that you felt the thing that you were practicing then is now stronger. That part of you will be more easily expressed next time there's influences around. And yes, if you spend time every day just connecting with your true self or your best self, and practicing how that person thinks and practicing how that person feels, practicing how they talk, that version of you will be stronger, be more natural.
Oh, you're cutting out.
Well, this sometimes fixes it. Is that better? Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Better?
Yeah,
No,
a
it's
little
still
bit.
happening.
Okay. Okay. And so I was saying that each time we practice our true self or our better self, that becomes more automatic. But there's also another part of your question, which is what do we do with influences around us? And I guess ultimately I'm going to go back to the same super technique of practice. Practicing how do you want to respond when there's influences around. And some influences will be conscious. I remember when I was stopping some bad habits where everyone around me had similar habits. And they were like, have some. And there was some time where I didn't want to. Some part of me was thinking no. And then I was like, oh, okay. So then I had to consciously practice what was it like to happily say no in a way that was really cool. It was like, how do I make like, hey, it's great that I've made these healthy choices. But then some influences aren't conscious. You're around angry people, and anger rubs off on you, or sad people, or any number of different ways that culture just rubs off on us. So yes, spending time meditating every day, practicing being your best self is a way to make that shine bigger than the influences that are rubbing off on you. Another thing that can be really helpful is to practice mindfulness meditation. To spend time just looking at yourself each day and also being mindful of the people around you. Look carefully at what they say. Look carefully at what they feel. and see the influences around you and set yourself up to like, hey, when I'm exposed to some anger, this is how I'm going to respond internally. Or when I'm exposed to politics in the workplace, this is how I'm going to respond internally. Or when I'm around people acting like that, I'm going to act like this. And you set yourself up so that you can make it so that something that would be a bad influence actually becomes a good influence on you. Because every time you're around that, it gives you more strength, it gives you more resolve, it reminds you to be better in some way. And yeah, if that sounds like there's lots of different parts of our life where we need to train ourselves to have a positive reaction, yes, that's why I encourage people to meditate every day. A few months of meditating every day, that's hundreds of parts of your life that you can rewire, hundreds of buttons that used to be pushed that you can then turn that into a confidence button or a power button or a compassion and understanding button. You know, Purple Octopus was saying that when people used to treat her a certain way, I think you said it made you mad. And now you said it makes you think, hey, they're conditioned and I'm going to be playful to make it better. Like, isn't that amazing? That some people would just inherently think being in that experience has to make you feel mad. But you were able to turn it into a thing that makes you more enlightened and playful. Like, that's so beautiful. And in similar to being able to do that in that one situation, I encourage everybody to spend time imagining and practicing being able to do that in many different situations. Now, Sonia, you asked, how do you do that? You know, if something really should make you angry or fearful, I invite you to ask yourself the question, hey, I know, or at least I have an idea that we can transform our minds. And so what if the way I think about it isn't actually the way it is? It's just one way of thinking about it. And yeah, I could try and justify and try and talk myself into some other way of thinking about it. But ultimately, I'll just end up practicing some other way of thinking about it. So trying to justify it is like a windy way of getting to where you need to get to. And it won't always get you to where you want to go. So I think ultimately, rehearsing how you want to react when those influences are around. You don't even need to have a good reason for it. Your brain will just learn how to do it. And I've found after you've transformed, then it makes sense. You know, when I was really angry, and then I practiced compassion meditation, just because I thought the world would be better if people were compassionate. If someone had asked me to justify why, I wouldn't have had a good answer. But then when I had practiced love and kindness for everyone, then I was like, oh yeah, everyone's how they are because of how they are. And if I was in their shoes, I'd want someone to be kind to me. And you know, I can see good in everybody. And like I was able to actually explain why I thought a more loving, kind world was better. I didn't do that first. First, I practiced just the feeling of kindness. And then my brain like filled in the gaps. So I encourage everybody to do the same thing. Just ask yourself, what would be an awesome way of being? And just practice being like that. And your mind will work out how to explain it to people and how to think about it. And that's actually part of the meditating. As you're sitting there feeling it, you'll visualize how to be a certain way. But then you'll also have good thoughts that go along. Like your brain fills in the whole picture every time you meditate on it. So Oscar has said, in regards to being influenced by others, they think that focusing being our best self steers us away from what distracts us from being our best and towards who and what supports us. So let me try and reiterate that again. When we focus on being our best self, it actually steers us away from those things that distract us, and it steers us towards the things that support us more. So yeah, definitely, it doesn't just transform us, it often also transforms the world around us. Because you'll be more drawn to the people who help you shine, and you'll make decisions that just take you to places where things generally work out better for you. So yeah, I think that's a really great addition, Oscar. Hey Sonia, I feel like your question about how do we accept our true selves and not be influenced by others, I feel like I covered it a bit, but I'm guessing you have a follow-up question that I could elaborate on a little more. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Oh, and just wanted to check. OA, I assumed that was Oliver, but not. Yeah, let me know. Question for everybody who's here. During the meditation, when I asked us to pick one thing to rehearse, how it would be. Ideally, you'd pick that one thing and you'd be visualizing being awesome at it, and you'd be feeling it, and we were there for some minutes, and so there'd just be lots of aspects to think about, and then maybe your mind would start to kind of wander off onto some other thing, but then you'd come back into it and visualize it some more, and you'd be feeling, hey, I'm actually changing it. That's the ideal of what I was hoping to achieve. I understand that when you've been meditating a lot, it's beautiful to dive in and spend longer into something and deepen it and strengthen it. But for people who perhaps haven't done that practice as much, I hope that you still felt you had some significant time and focus on that one thing that we were practicing. And if anyone wants to share how it was for them or ask about that one, I would love to hear that too. Let me just check if Sonia's responded. Yeah, Sonia said, I think if we focus on our best selves, we can face the situation in a better way. Awesome. I want to add to that is you can meditate on your best self. You can feel what that's like. You can rehearse yourself into the state of mind and the attitudes. And if while you're in that state of mind, you then also rehearse how you want to act in that situation. Like imagine them coming at you with the worst situation that you could think of, or as much as you're ready for, and just practice being awesome in response. So first you get into your best self, and then when you're in that best self, you get to role play how you're going to be, and you'll be surprised the awesome feelings that can come out and the great ideas you can have. They might not happen straight away. You might have to meditate on it and try and visualize for minutes, what would my best self do here? But then once the good ideas flow, it can be really surprising how powerful they feel or how wise they feel. There were some areas of my life where I was doing this, and it took a few days of meditating on it, before I felt the transformations coming through. But it's worth it. And many of the transformations, like I said, you get into this awesome place and then you think, how would my awesome self be? That's how I'll be. And then the next time I'm there, I just reach into myself, this is how I am. So yeah, I want every one of you to be excited that you can actually set yourself up to be awesome in tricky situations. And it can be surprising, amazing how quickly you can make those changes.
Reading the sutras help for me because a lot of the things in there, they actually define what you could be, in response to common things, which is funny because they were written like literally thousands of years ago. But for example, with politics at work, right? You would think, how could the Buddha have anything to say about that from back then? But he very clearly says, or in the sutras, they clearly say, like, don't over worry about work because remember why you're there. You're there to sustain yourself, not to get lost in the illusory play of politics and status and hierarchy. You're there to do good work and sustain yourself another day. And that kind of thinking, it's funny that it's in there, and it's so relevant, but it is for today. So the sutras actually have a lot of information like that for different common life situations that still are pretty relevant.
In the last 50 years, we've had these massive technological changes. We have smartphones and the internet now. But other than that, life's been pretty similar for tens of thousands of years. Ever since we've been living in communities, we've had jobs, we've traded, we've had people around us. So if it comes to wisdom about just living, I think ancient wisdom can still be relevant to everything we're doing. You said something earlier about wealth, and when you stopped wanting to be rich, it was a sense of peace. Sorry if I'm not paraphrasing accurately. When I was young and I started dreaming of a world where everyone supported each other, I thought just teaching people to transform themselves would be the best thing to do with my life, and I spent a few decades just doing that. And even when people said, hey, that was great, have some money, I said, no, I don't need money. The universe looks after me. And somehow it did. I mean, I was living in poverty, but I traveled the world, and I was hosted in amazing places and always had everything I needed. And I think I had that attitude from reading about Buddhist monks and reading, Jesus said, just be like the birds, know that nature will look after you, and just go and spread the word. And so that's just what I did. But I don't actually think that was the best choice. I think that if I had been more focused on growing something that was sustainable in our society, if I had thought about getting things organized and having some money to have media made or to build things that help spread enlightenment, I would have done a lot better. And we were talking about constructs before. There are so many constructs people have around money. Ultimately, I like to see it, ideally, is that as a society, we just say, hey, you've done something helpful for me. Here's some points to say, yep, you did this good, so you can trade those points with others. And so ideally, doing things that are more helpful, you'll get more points, and that will give you more stability and more points that you can then spend on projects you want to do. And I think ultimately, at some point, you may have some projects where you'd like to employ others, or you may have some really great things you want to get. And so, while I still think people should give a lot and try to make the world better, kind of essential as to who we are is to contribute to the planet. I think also envisaging how you can get wealth and then do good with that wealth for yourself and for others. I think that's a helpful thing that I wish that I had considered earlier. And part of that is that there are different kinds of jobs that pay different amounts, and I definitely encourage everyone to think, what can you do that will earn you as much as possible, as fast as possible. Within your ethics, I don't want to encourage anyone to do anything that harms others, and you may be at a point where you have enough that you then would focus on things that are more fun or playful, or that may do more good but bring less for you. But I definitely think everyone should get to a point where they are personally very comfortable.
I wish that as a whole, our society would embrace the idea of compassion more, so that we gave to each other and made sure everyone was taken care of. Because not having enough is such a common cause of suffering. And as an individual, there isn't much you can do. But as a collective, I feel very strongly that we could make it so that everybody had a minimum level of stability and peace.
I've definitely lived in a number of countries where they do that, and it seems like everybody's happier and feels safer, and the streets are cleaner, and yeah. I'm not really sure why they don't do that in the US.
Because money.
Other countries also
Of course.
care about money, and other countries also think it's a good investment to make everyone happier and safer, and it can be more efficient and effective to house people than to have rehabilitation programs and more policing. And so
It's true. I think it's fear. That's the cause in America. I feel that a lot of people fear being taken advantage of.
and yeah,
And unfortunately, yeah.
I've spent time with people in Australia who definitely are trying to take advantage of society. And yeah, if we're going to be giving and supportive, we also need to know how to make that have the right incentives and the right checks and balances, so that there isn't fraud and there aren't people who are just leeching off of society. So yeah, my ideal would be a social construct where we give everybody opportunities to contribute to society, and in return, you have your basic needs met, as well as giving people support that if they want to find a job or find something that gives more, we also help them with the resources to do that too.
There's so many people that are not being well taken care of in spite of having paid into the system. Like, hear about our elders and the horrific conditions in hospice, care homes. And it's not just an America thing. There's actually also cases in UK. And I just feel that they've paid into the system. They've also been working all their lives, and then when they need us the most, we abandon them. And that's just like something that causes a lot of wrathful compassion in me. But I feel that we as a society need to value compassion and caring more. Because we think if I'm compassionate and I care about people, I'm going to be the chump. And so we harden our hearts and go into the idea of acquiring and protecting our own selves. But at the end of the day, that kind of thinking actually just makes you miserable. And it creates this loop, like all of us who are abandoning our elders today, that will be us someday. And what have we role modeled to the next generation? And what systems have we fed into or not created? You know, we are not creating systems that make it so that they stay peaceful and well taken care of until their last days. So by the time we get there, those systems won't exist for us either.
I'd like to change the topic for this session to be about the transforming the things that don't serve us. So you were saying about society and the systems and our current systems that don't serve us, don't serve so many people. I think discussing ideals or like what should be better, it's very important to make it practical. What would we suggest instead, and how would we get there? Do we run for politics? Do we create companies that provide these services? Do we lobby government? Do we create charities? So I would love to have this discussion more. I just feel like right now I just want to invite everybody to spend some time imagining your ideal society. And as you imagine what you think it should really be like, then you can start to think, well, which of those things seem the most achievable? Or which of those ideas will do the most good? One of the reasons I went from just selflessly doing classes and traveling the world, spreading the ability to transform ourselves, was because I did start to see I was getting older and I needed healthcare and didn't have the resources for it. And I definitely started to think I have to look after myself more. But I haven't just become this Scrooge that just looks after me. And now I'm here in virtual reality. Now that I have been finding ways to get more for myself, I'm also able to give more. For 25 years I've been doing what I've been doing, and just this week we had the organization registered officially as a charity. That's because I took some time to get the money to pay someone to help do that paperwork, and I had the stability to have the time to work that all out. And I look at a lot of selfless people or anti-capitalist people, idealist people, and I feel like if instead of saying, hey, society's broken, my ideal is so much better, if they ask themselves, hey, how do I work with the world in the best way I can, then a lot more of our dreams and ideals would come true.
Hmm.
Can I ask a question on that?
Sure. And I just was asked if we can have our closing meditation soon because the family needs me.
Sure.
So, Pops, you have a question?
Is kind of what you're saying is to work with the system that already exists versus like fighting it and trying to put in place like a completely new system? Is that what you're communicating?
Yeah, I think fighting the whole world is not a good approach. If you can create your own intentional community that runs in an awesome way and then grow that and make more people involved and grow it and it gets as big as possible and then it influences the rest of the world in a positive way, wonderful. If you want to advocate for social change, excellent. But I definitely encourage people not to think of it as fighting the system. When you are arguing with people, people argue back. When you're helping people, people like to be helped. And so if we have ideas about how things could be improved, try and phrase them in a way that it seems like it's helping and improving things. That way more people will be on board. If there are groups of people that are angry and want to fight the system and you're aligned with them, I encourage us all to feel like, hey, it's team humanity, and help them figure out how to phrase things in a way that's more inviting to everybody. And if what a group believes in is good, then it should be welcoming to everyone. In terms of our own lives, your question about whether it's fighting the system or working within it, yeah, I mean, sometimes you're in with one little microsystem, whether it's your team at work or your neighborhood or your state government or your something or other. You can try and make the things around you better. I definitely encourage us all to dream of things being better, but I encourage us, rather than fighting, just try and improve it. And if you're in an environment, you know, I mentioned all these little bubbles, because sometimes we're in a bubble and like that catches all our attention. Sometimes it's better to ask, well, where would I be more appreciated? Where would I be more happy? Where could I be more effective? So sometimes it's better to change to a different team or change to a different company or move to a different state or a different country or spend time with different kinds of people. As for when we choose to like invest on who's here and when we move, I think that's something to be careful about and meditate upon, and maybe don't do it too drastically. Maybe like explore things carefully and make decisions where you make sure that we never burn any bridges and that things work well. Purple, is that something you wanted to say?
Oh, I was actually, I need to leave. Thank you for the class.
Thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, thank you. I will. Bye.
Marlies just contributed, go Team Humanity. I think it's time for our closing meditation. So I invite everybody just to have a little shake. We went through some different topics, some different themes. And just imagine, for now, you're just going to put all that aside, let your mind rest, and make some space for your best self. And you'll notice the different thoughts and feelings are still going on in your mind. Just entertain that idea, my best self. Take some slower, deeper breaths. And let yourself just feel into your best self. If you imagine that your mind is like a dense forest, pathways all through the forests. Some parts there's little villages, some parts there's beautiful fields, some parts are full of fruit. Just imagine moving into the parts of you that feel the most beautiful for you right now. Perhaps it's the peaceful places. Perhaps it's the fruitful places. Perhaps it's the places with the vast, expansive views into the distance. And I want you to remember when we meditated on our future self. You in a year from now. You in decades from now. As you look through the future, all the things they go through, everything they become and do, you can make it clearer. What do I want to practice right now? How deeply and powerfully do I want to transform, release, create different parts of myself right now? And then look at yourself right now, right here. What would you like to practice? What would you like to transform for you? It's a gift to this you that you're looking at right now. What feelings would you wish for yourself? And then for the last minute of the meditation, just remember whatever you want to remember from today. And perhaps there's some nice things you'd like to say to yourself. Or perhaps you'd like to imagine, rehearse the positive things you rehearsed today. I'm going to keep practicing these things. I'm going to keep remembering them. I'm going to make it stronger. I choose now that whatever from my past that didn't serve me, from now on, I always focus on and practice the ways that I choose to be. And the good feelings and the good ideas from today, they're going to keep getting better. And when you're ready, you can finish the meditation. Coming back into the temple. I'm grateful for each one of you that's here. I'm grateful to all of you there on the live streams. I hope you have a moment to just be grateful for the gift you gave yourself. The thoughts, the feelings, the intention, the practice that you gave yourself. And so we're just going to finish by dedicating this time. The time that you spent, any positive thoughts or feelings you had, please cherish them. As if you were just given a little plant, grow it, tend to it, give it sunshine every day, water it, meditate on it, Let it grow into the mighty trees, the forests, the orchards that it should be. If there's any nice feelings that you touch within, any positive ideas or transformations, let them keep growing and getting better. Dedicate this to the you next year, to the you decades into the future. Dedicate this goodness to everyone you'll talk to from now until then. You are a fountain of awesomeness, and just keep shining more brightly.